Hi Aaron. In this video I'm going to show you how to modify, edit, and control some of the forms on your website, particularly for the rental request and purchasing information. I don't know how much you'll end up messing with these, but it's probably just a good thing to know how to do, so I thought I'd make this little reference video for you. Just for demonstration purposes, I've gone ahead and brought up the front end of your website so that we can contrast the changes we're making to what it will actually do to the publicly visible website. So I'm starting off here on your WordPress dashboard. And this is what you'll see when you first log into the back end of your website. And all of the forms on the site are controlled through a plugin called Gravity Forms. So what we do to find them is we go right over here in our left-hand menu column to Forms. All we'll do is we'll click into it, and then when it loads, you'll see all of the available forms on your website. So any form that exists on the front end of your website, you can find right in here in this little section. And you'll see as I put my mouse over the names, it's giving me options to edit, control settings, see how many entries there have been, preview what the form looks like, or delete it if you determine that you no longer need it or something like that. Wouldn't recommend doing that though. So what I'm going to do first is I've got your purchase information form up on the front end. So we're going to go in and we're going to take a look at how this is constructed on the back end. So to do that, I just clicked edit. The site will take a second to load, and when it finishes, this is what we get. So you'll see it's very reminiscent of what we're looking at on the front end. It's just not quite stylized in the same way. So we've got our name field, company name, email, phone number, address, the trailer categories, which I added in for you this morning, and then just general questions and comments. So what we do here is if you put your mouse over, say, the name, and you click this little arrow here, it will expand and drop down to show you all of the configuration settings that are available to you with this. So as you can see, we've determined that the field label is called name, but you could put whatever you wanted in here. You could also put in a small description if you felt that you needed to have some clarifying text. You wouldn't necessarily do that for the name because that's pretty straightforward, but an area where you could potentially use that would be, say, on the general questions and comments. You could put in an extra line that says, please tell us about the event that you're interested in renting a trailer for. That way you give people more of a cue, so that you just don't sort of open them up to a whole world of whatever they want to say. You sort of guide them to provide you with the information that you need to fulfill their rental request. Something worth noting here that you'll probably use a lot is that we can apply rules to these fields. So this is where we would determine if we want this field to be required or not. So per your request, based on our phone call earlier, one of the things that we determined was that you wanted the zip code to be mandatory for people to fill out for the rental requests. So let me actually click over to that form real quick so we can go take a look at that. All right, so here we are. We're going into rental request form. And if I scroll down to the event address, you'll see here it's got this little red asterisk sign, which denotes that it's a required field. And then we can verify that by coming down here and seeing that this box is checked. Now, one special thing to note here is that the entire event address field is comprised of street address, address line 2, city, state, and zip code. So all of these are mandatory. If a user was to fill out, say, just 4 of them and leave 1 blank, it wouldn't allow the form to submit. So while we haven't necessarily made only the zip code mandatory, we've made it mandatory by virtue of the fact that they're all mandatory. The other thing that I discovered or noticed is that if we fill out the form on the front end, I'm just going to fill out, let's see, we'll do American Eagle's address. If I choose 2600 South River Road, it will automatically fill out the zip code, the state, and oftentimes the city. So really, a user is only going to need to fill out one of these things, and it should populate the rest. The other thing I wanted to show you is if we go back actually to our purchase information form, that is where we added in this morning the categories for trailer types. So I'll show you how I did that. When I needed to do that, all I did was I came into the form here, and you can see there are fields over here on your right hand side that you can add in to an existing form. So for that particular request, I chose checkboxes. That way on the front end, somebody can choose one type or multiple types of trailers should they have several things that they're interested in. That way we're not restricting them to just one. When I added that in there, I'll go ahead and I'll click it so you can see what it looks like. So it always adds these to the bottom, but I'll go ahead and I'll drag it up here. By default, it's called untitled, and then it's just first choice, second choice, third choice. So what we have to do is click this arrow to open up our options, and at this point we can come in here and we can rename our choices. So you can see I can change those to whatever I want. I can also determine that I want them to be pre-selected. I don't really know of a situation for your company in which you would want to do this, but it's always an option. Again, you can make it a required field. And then, of course, you're probably thinking, well, what if I need more than 3? All you do in that case is you come over here and you hit this plus button, and you'll see I can just continue adding in new fields until I've got however many I need. Likewise, I can delete fields. So that is how you would do that. It's pretty easy. I'm going to go ahead and delete this one because we don't need it. But just to give you another example real quick before we end the video is you can also add in drop downs. So that was one thing that we discussed this morning. So if I select drop down, it's going to give me this field here. I'm going to open up my extra options, and we'll go ahead and we'll call this sample drop down, and we'll go ahead and we'll make the choices our names, just for example's sake, and we'll go ahead and we'll say that we want it to be required. And I'm going to actually update this form to show you what that looks like. So as you can see, I just clicked update. That's all you have to do once you either add or remove what you see fit. You just hit update. It'll push those updates. We do have a caching plugin installed in the site, so and we do that for speed. So the last step is to come up here to WP Rocket, click clear cache, and then what we'll do is once the site finishes loading, we're going to go over here to your front end, and we'll go ahead and we'll reload this page and see if our changes are there. So sure enough, we can see here I've got sample dropdown. It's a required field like we required it to be. And then I've got my drop-down options with Ellis, Aaron, and Rachel. So as you can see, it's pretty simple to modify your forms. It's totally something that that you can have control over. So I encourage you to play around with it. And if you have any questions, just let us know. Thanks.